Guys, I'm truly thankful you're here. Lots and lots of stuff that I want to encourage you with. For starters, though, if you don't have my contact info, if you don't have Kate's contact info, we wanted to give that to you. Also, we wanted to give you the Remind. I'm sure a lot of you are using Remind at school, so we use the same thing. It's super easy. Say it's super easy. The one annoying thing about Remind is it only allows me 140 characters. And I don't sneeze in 140 characters. Other big thing going on this summer is our Seattle mission trip. This is for junior high or high school students, but we have a max of 15 spots for this. One of the new things that we're doing about this too is we're requiring students before they get signed up for this trip to do an interview with me or Kate. I'm certainly why are you doing the interview thing? Don't you just want my money? And the answer is no, I don't want your money. I want to make sure our students that are going on this trip understand what they're signing up for. Not only do they understand what missions is and why it matters, because really for 6 months we've had a whole bunch of students go, I want to go to Seattle, that sounds awesome. I'm a Seahawks fan, let's do it, that's great. And all those things are cool, and we're definitely going to have some fun, but that's not why we're going. We're going to serve the Lord, and also we're going very much so to support our church, the dwelling place up there. We're going 6th grade promotion. We've got some of our 6th grade parents in here, which we're excited to have you here. The day we are going to come and lovingly, we use the term kidnap, so we're not kidnapped. The day that we will come and take them from the 6th grade classroom and bring them up here is July 28th. I keep popping into the 6th grade class and spending lots of time with your students. We want them to feel as comfortable and safe and secure and even excited about this jump up. It's a lot different than kids 10 years ago. They could not wait to join youth group 10 years ago. And now in some cases, there's some trepidation about that. And we're really sensitive to that. So we want to make that transition not only smooth for your kids, but for some of you, you may have that trepidation as well. Get fully compassionate to that too. So we are going to Bosnia in December. I'm super, and we've been planning this for almost a year. In December, we're going to Bosnia. We'll leave a couple days after Christmas. That return date is not a hard date yet. We're still working with the Greenwiches on what that'll look like. There's a very real possibility we're going to Bosnia to go ski for Jesus, which just sounds awful, I know, right? But one of the ministries that the Greenwiches do during the winter months is they are out on the slopes talking to Jesus to people when they're not skiing. And so Jeremy said, do you think you could talk some teenagers into coming and ski and talking a little about the Lord? And I said, you can talk me into that. So I miss snowboarding so bad I can't stand it. So we're excited about this possibility. But if there's anything that's even more intriguing to me, one of the things that Jeremy has been doing lately is ministering to people through baseball. And he said, you don't know anything about that, do you? He said, the day is mine. This is going to be the greatest mission trip ever. I can ski and talk about baseball. Kate is not here. She is celebrating her first anniversary, which we're really excited about. If you didn't know, Kate, our girls minister, she got married actually right here in this room a little over a year ago. We did that on Wednesday night at youth group. So maybe the most fun I've ever had doing a wedding. And so, anyway, so she's celebrating her anniversary. I told her we were more than in favor of that. But she filmed a quick video, so we'll let you watch.
Howdy, y'all. I'm sorry I can't be with you here this parent meeting because we're going to be in Paladar Canyon for our anniversary. But I just wanted to go over some more app stuff that's on the up and coming and just some reminders. I have 3 things I really want to go over. The first is just going back to Instagram. A lot of our students have what they call Finstas, or fake Instagrams, or spam accounts, or whatever you want to call that. These are accounts where they post more photos more frequently that aren't so serious, or they don't want to put on their real Instagram because it's not worthy of, being on the main channel or whatever. But a lot of them will disguise this with like different usernames. They won't put their names on there. They won't put a profile picture that looks like them, but they're posting things that are not really of their character. And I know a lot of these things are super scary, but I found this app. It's called Bark, and it is an app that it's just a monitoring app. But I love it because it has the most coverage of any monitoring tool that I've found so far. So it monitors all types of apps through Snapchat, LABC, those things that can go through and then disappear. It'll detect those if something else is going on. So it has social media monitoring, it has text monitoring, email monitoring, 24/7, like all around monitoring. So
basically, I'm the so this week I closed a few cases, and I'm like, yeah, I closed a few cases, and I went down to the bottom to see how many cases I have left. I'm still at 67. So does that kind of give you an idea of how many cases we have? Let me kind of give you a little bit about what I think about cell phones. One, I think it's an epidemic. The reason I say I think it's an epidemic is because most of my cases deal with teenagers and their cell phones. And I'll kind of give you an idea about some of the apps that I come across. So, the point of me sending you this picture is, who got the picture? Okay, when you saw the picture, did you see the picture when it came up? Did it say accept or deny or decline? Okay, hopefully you declined it because it was teaching. But the point is, this is what the kids are doing now. They are airdropping inappropriate photos. And you can confirm that when you got the picture, you saw what the picture was. You don't have a choice on not seeing the picture. See what I'm saying? The picture shows up and you have to accept it or decline it. What that means is, whether you are doing everything you can do for your children, they can still be exposed to pornography. So what am I finding on every cell phone that I've analyzed? I'm finding porn. I'm finding FaceTime. You know what a thumbnail is? A thumbnail is basically like an image capture of a video. So it can be an image capture of a picture as well. But we'll see thumbnails of a conversation. And what it'll look like, if you've ever done FaceTime, you know that you have the big screen and then you have the little screen. So the big screen is the person you're talking to, the little screen is you. So you can see you talking to the person. So I will see screenshots or thumbnails of those images. And when these kids are talking to their girlfriend or boyfriend and they're doing inappropriate things, they're snapshotting those images. And so those images are caught on their phone. Musical.ly is one of those apps that a lot of the young kids like to be a part of. And basically it's an app where they can video them singing a song. So they can have their very own American Idol or one of those little things that they want to try to be famous with their friends or whatever. But the reality is that Musical.ly is now, it used to be Live Me that turned into Musical.ly, and now I think it's TikTok. It's all the same thing. It's the kids record their videos and post them to their friends. However, it's basically a fishbowl for pedophiles. They will get on the app and they'll talk to you and they'll tell you, hey, I like your videos. And then before you know it, you have an adult male or an adult female talking to your child. The definition of child pornography is it's based on the age of the child at the time the photo was taken, not on the age of the person at the time that it's caught. Does that make sense? The age of the child at the time the photo was taken. So if we got kids in junior high doing that, and then those kids turn into adults, if they have not got a new phone, or sometimes those images transfer to the new phone, and they still have those images on their phone, it's a mess that we don't really have to deal with. Not to alarm you, and not to scare you, but at the same time, I need you all to be aware that this is a problem. An 8-year-old shouldn't have a cell phone, in my opinion. A 13-year-old should not have a cell phone, in my opinion.
Pastor Eric has been given a vision by God that we're calling the 5 hills of LABC. They all very much are going to affect how we operate as a student ministry. So hill number 1 is this. We want to pray over every member, over every ministry, in every nation, at every hour of every day. And hill number 2 is this, though, and this is the one that truly affects y'all. We're going to own the responsibility of discipleship for the 976 weeks of your child's life. Now, if you are mathematicians, you're going, wait a second, that's more than 18. 976 actually includes the 9 months of we call it prenatal discipleship, including that 9 months when your child is in the womb. We already want to be discipling your kids. But once they come out, The job's not done. In fact, we're just getting started. We want to own discipleship for our kids from the time they come out until the time they leave your home. And even after they leave your home, biblically speaking, until they're married, they're your problem. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. But it's our role as parents to teach our kids to love Jesus. And that really is the goal. It's not to manage behavior. Let me say it again. It's not to manage behavior. It's as much as our kids drive us nuts by all the crazy things they do and say and repeat, the goal is for us to not turn them into decent human beings. The goal is for us to teach them to love Jesus. That's discipleship. We're praying together every Wednesday night. That's a big, big portion. Eventually, the goal is we as a student ministry, when we do refresh, we're going to be in the worship center with refresh with the rest of our church family. They're not ready for that. If I took them in there would be mutiny and a freak out, and it just wouldn't be pretty at all. But eventually, we're going to get there. And the reason why I say that, because I believe with all my heart one of the most powerful things in the world that we can do for our students, and one of the most powerful things that we can do for those people that are already in there praying every time, is to get a teenager and a 75-year-old lady that are both church members and both members of the family of God to pray together. That's mind-blowing, kingdom-advancing, uncommon stuff right there. Let me just, hey, Nick, throw me the ball. Throw me the ball. Now you don't have the ball. Throw me the ball. Now you don't have the ball. Eric, you got a ball? Throw me the ball. Chase, you got a ball back there? Nobody's got a ball to throw me? How many of you have heard the phrase that things are better caught than taught? With me? And that's generally true. It's a handy little saying. It's easy to remember things are better caught than taught. When it comes to teaching your children, spiritually speaking, you need to teach them, but they also need to catch them. But here's what I want you to catch that I think is important. I asked you to throw me the ball. Nobody had a ball to throw me. There are things that we, by the power of the Spirit of God, that we need to be teaching our children. And again, the goal is to help them love Jesus. But the problem is, if we don't love Jesus ourselves, that's not something we can teach our children how to do. And so family discipleship has nothing to do with your kids. It actually starts with you first. Our goal is again, we're going to do this imperfectly, but we're going to do this as a church family together. We're going to help one another love Jesus more so that we can, in turn, help our kids love Jesus too. That way, we have the ball so we can throw it to our kids so they can't catch it. Y'all with me? The student ministry is going to continue to operate. I'm still going to be your youth pastor, but what you need to know from me is this. My goal is I'm going to continue to pastor your kids, but my goal more and more and more is going to be find ways to support your role. But the fact of the matter is there's 168 hours in your students' weeks, and I get about an hour and a half with most of them. So an hour and a half out of 168 hours is not a lot. And then you take that chunk of time that the school takes from all of us, and then you take that chunk of time that they're sleeping, or at least we hope they're sleeping. By the way, your kids are not sleeping. I don't know if you know that or not. They're not sleeping. I know this because I'm getting text messages from them in the middle of the night, or I'm seeing their activity on Twitter in the middle of the night. So your kids aren't sleeping, but that's a different conversation. So that time that they're sleeping or not sleeping, and there's that time that they're in school, and then there's the sliver of time that you have them. And it might be 4 or 5 hours a week. And I just want to ask you, in all sincerity, what are you doing as their parents to help your kids know and love Jesus with all their heart, all their mind, all their soul, and all their strength? Because that's the thing that the Lord is going to ask us what we do with our kids. That's true of me too. I'm in this process with you. Okay? Year 20 of student ministry for me will be next year. That just happens to be the year that all of a sudden I've got a teenager in my house. Yeah, I'm not going to feel like I know what I'm going to do. Okay? So I'm going to be calling y'all going, okay, so y'all been parenting teenagers. Help. I have a 13-year-old now. We're in this thing together. So my goal for you is I'm going to resource you every which way I can think of. And I'm going to be available to you every which way I can think of. So I don't know everything, but I've learned any number of things over the years, especially when it comes to communicating the scriptures to teenagers. I've gotten pretty good at that, and I want to help you do that too. Howdy, parents. I'm sorry that didn't quite finish the meeting earlier, and so we're sitting at my kitchen table now, and I have my Dr. Pepper shake that's powering me through the rest of this. By the way, if you've not tried it, it's awesome. Go get you a Dr. Pepper shake. But just a few more things that I wanted to touch base on, and we can finish from my kitchen table. And by the way, the kitchen table is easily one of the best places in the world for family ministry, so take advantage of that, but we'll talk about that some other day. So we recently asked your students the question, it was in connection groups. We said, how often do you think about God and his plans for your life?
And I wish I could tell you that we had some awesome responses, but by and large, it was really, really sad. The overwhelming response was, I don't think about God and his plans for my life very often. The second most common response was this, though, and it might have even been sadder, and that was, I don't know that God has a plan for my life. I only bring that up to say that this is where our students are at. This is where your kids are at. Again, we're not shaming anybody. We're here to encourage you. But in order for us to win this thing called discipleship with our students, we have to know where they're at, and this is where they're at. They don't think about the Lord all that particularly often, and especially not God's plans for their lives. If you want to use the food analogy, we would say if you only ate one time a week, you would not be a healthy person at all. This is sometimes how we treat our souls. We feed ourselves once, maybe twice a week, and call it a week, and it just doesn't work. It especially doesn't work with students who are still developing in their faith period. That thought in mind, let me give you what I hope will be 4 really practical tips that you can use. Number 1, when it comes to your teenagers, at least, whenever you pick them up from church on Sunday morning, Wednesday night, discipleship group, whatever, don't ask them the question, what did you learn? Instead, ask them the question, were you encouraged or challenged to love and obey Jesus today? And here's the difference, and we talked about this a little bit today. The goal when we gather together as a body of believers isn't to learn something new. The goal is to be challenged and encouraged to love and follow Jesus more readily. There's any number of times where any of us show up at church and we don't learn any new information, but that doesn't mean that our time was wasted. Because it's not about gathering new information. It's about being changed by the Spirit of God and the opening of His Word. And so ask your kids that question. Say, hey, were you challenged to love and follow Jesus? And when they say yes, and I promise we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they can say yes, then follow up with the question, just quite simply, just say, how so? In other words, what did you learn? What did you look at? You're doing several things by following up in this manner. Number 1, you're showing your kids that you are genuinely interested in their spiritual development. But number 2, it's giving you some insight into what we're going on, what we're doing, and I'm going to do a better job about helping you know what's going on. But as your students are answering these questions, it's giving you understanding of where they're at theologically and what they're understanding, what they're not understanding, and then you can have further conversations with them about the scriptures. You can share with them the stuff that you know from the passages that we're following up. Again, my goal is to set you up so that you can be the hero and the champion of this deal, because you already are. I just want to affirm that in you, though. There is no greater thing, no greater responsibility, no more important job, no more specific task that we have than to lead our kids to the cross and to help them love Jesus. And we already do a good job of helping them love all sorts of stuff. There's, my kids, even when we lived in Arizona, when they were learning to talk, they knew they were Texans because I taught them to love Texas. I've taught my kids to love Texas A&M. All of you have taught your kids to love something, whether it's intentional or unintentional. Let's intentionally work to love Jesus ourselves and teach our kids to love Jesus themselves. And here's the best part about it, guys. The Holy Spirit will help us. He's promised so. This is the task He's given us. He's going to help us do it. So let's work together to help our kids love the King. Guys, I love y'all. Have a great week, and we'll see you later.